Hi there, smart drivers. Talking to you tonight about 8 reasons that you need to have in place, 8 reasons that you will fail your driver's test. But if you put the right skills, techniques, and abilities in place, you're going to be successful passing your driver's test first time. Stick around. We're going to give you all of that information. A few people are here already. Julie's here. Greenbrier tuning in from Arkansas. Marion is here, and Marion just recently passed her driver's test. Congratulations on passing your driver's test. Awesome, awesome news. Elevator Fan is tuning in from Monticello, Indiana, and Ann is here, and my friend Mallory is tuning in from the Maritimes in Canada, and I forgot to say that Ann B is here tuning in from California. So if you have any questions about passing a driver's test, being a safer, smarter driver, or starting your career as a truck or bus driver, we can help you out with all of that. So questions, we'll answer all your questions. I have a quick presentation for you, and it's about 10 or 12 minutes on the presentation. Then we come back and we answer all the questions that you have for the remainder of the hour. Corey is here, Bricks for Wheels. Corey is the moderator, does an excellent job of getting up the videos that I suggest you have a look at for further information, as well as keeping out the bad people. You get to a certain size and people just want to spam you for whatever reason. Sean is here from Brooklyn Parks, Minnesota. Excellent. And my friend Noah is here as well from Massachusetts. I'm going to say that wrong. That's why I didn't say it. No text, cell phones. Yes, when you're driving, please don't do any of that. Distracted driving and whatnot. Unfortunately, it happens and other people are doing it. So this is the reason that you maintain space in front of your vehicle, to stay away from other people when you're driving. Kevin is here tuning in from New York City. Hello, Kevin, and helping you to pass a driver's test. That's what we're doing tonight. And Elevator Fan, you're not feeling well, unfortunately. Sorry to hear that. My mom called me this afternoon, and she has bronchitis. So lots of people under the weather this time of year. Woosta. Thanks for that, Noah. That helps me out for sure. Woosta, Massachusetts. I can hear that in a Boston, Massachusetts accent too, the way that they would say it there for sure. All right. So number one reason that you're not going to pass the driver's test is because you don't know what's on the driver's test. Most driver's tests in the United States and here in Canada as well have 3 basic slow speed maneuvers: parallel parking, backing into a parking space, and 3-point turns. At minimum, you need to be able to do those 3 maneuvers to be successful on passing your driver's test. And here is the other key, and I was talking about this afternoon in the short that I put up. The state of, not the state, but the district, capital district of Washington, D.C. implemented the parallel parking back into the driver's test in 2021. Their fail rate went up 10%. Because many drivers are not prepared to do the slow speed maneuvers. So here's the other piece about learning to drive and practicing for your driver's test. Slow speed maneuvers will allow you to learn to drive faster. 20% in, 80% out, because slow speed maneuvers are the fundamentals of driving. They are what drills are to sports. They are what scales are to music. If you can do slow speed maneuvers, parallel parking, backing into a parking spot, 3-point turns, backing along a curb, or the Ohio Maneuverability test, you are going to learn to drive faster, and you're going to be a safer, smarter driver. And the reason for that is due to the fact that slow speed maneuvers teach you mastery of the primary controls. They teach you how to work the accelerator, the brake, and the steering wheel, and those things in combination. And as well, slow speed maneuvers teach you where your vehicle is in space and place. In other words, where is it in relation to other traffic, and where is it along the roadway and in relation to fixed objects, lamp posts, traffic islands, and those types of things. So it's going to help you with all aspects of your driving, not just the slow speed maneuvers. And I cannot seem to convey this information to people who are involved in helping other people to learn how to drive. It really, really does make you a better safer, smarter driver. So focus on those slow speed maneuvers. Greenbrier, slow speed maneuvers are to driving what drills is to a marching band. Absolutely. You know, and you got a bit of multitasking going on there with your marching band for sure. Aiden, you're not even supposed to touch the phone while doing the tests. I wouldn't even take the phone with you. That's a good point, Aiden. And I wouldn't even have it in a holder on a driving test. I would have it in the trunk. I would give it to my driving instructor. I would give it to whomever took you down to your driving test. Do not have your phone anywhere accessible in the car. If you touch it during a driving test, that's an automatic fail. I guarantee you, you touch your phone on a driving test, at any point from the time that the examiner gets in the car to the examiner steps out of the car, you are going to fail your driver's test. And thank you for that, because now I'll make that a short. And just to clarify to people that you cannot, under any circumstances, have your phone in the car with you when you're taking your driver's test. Elevator fan, is using your cell phone while driving an automatic fail on a driver's test? Yes, it is. There's the answer to your question. 325, they say if you use the instructor's car for the road test, the examiner is more confident. Is this true? 325, no. I will tell you that the first 5 minutes of your driving test determines whether you're going to pass or fail. Myself, other driving instructors, and driving examiners, and I'll just distinguish the two. Driving instructors are the people you pay to teach you how to drive. Driving examiners are the people at the DMV, at the test center, who are going to take you out for your test and determine whether you pass or fail your driver's test. Driving examiners and driving instructors do this every day, and we know within 5 minutes whether you can drive or not. So if you mess up in the first 5 minutes, it's not likely that you're going to pass your test. So when you come out of the parking space, I always say, when you go for your driver's license, come into the test center, and if it's a parking lot, there are places in New York City and other places like that where there isn't a parking lot, but if there is a parking lot with designated reserve parking for you as the testing driver, back into the parking space, and then that way you can drive out and you can turn left or right and put your signal on, and that's going to indicate to the examiner that you have a good grasp of the steering of the vehicle. Because your job to pass the driving test is to demonstrate to the examiner that you have due care and control of the vehicle in changing traffic conditions. And one of the golden rules of your driving test: shoulder check every time you change directions, signal every time you change directions of the vehicle to be successful in passing your driver's test. So the first 5 minutes of the test, after that, is going to determine whether the driving examiner is comfortable or not. It's not going to determine whether you're in a school car or whether you're in your own personal vehicle. The examiner, he or she, can tell whether you are competent in driving or not. So it doesn't matter one way or the other. It matters about you in the first 5 minutes. And I'll give you a kind of a funny story about this. When I was driving coaches in Australia, I was picking up at the terminal. The passengers, got all the passengers loaded on the bus. Of course, you're in a different bus every time, so you got to kind of get used to the bus. Backed up. I was really tired. Stalled the bus when I backed up to go forward again. I come out to the edge of the sidewalk, and somebody stepped out in front of the bus as I was coming out to cross the sidewalk to go out onto the roadway. And as they stepped in front of me, I slammed on the brakes, and then I was kind of rattled by this point because I'd stalled the bus and I slammed the brakes on. And then I went out and made a right-hand turn, which is a left-hand turn here anyway, and dragged the back of the bus up over the curb. And it was an 11-hour trip to Sydney. Not one passenger on that bus slept the entire way because it was an overnight. And because they were not comfortable, because the first 5 minutes of the bus trip, I messed up big time. And if you get the first 5 minutes right on a bus trip, just like a driver's test, after that you could put it up on two wheels and you could drive around and passengers would be completely fine with that. But the first 5 minutes is critical of your driver's test, so make sure that you get it right. Okay? And I'll talk about this in the presentation, but the number one thing about Your driving test is know what's on the test. If you're in the state of Ohio, make sure that you know that you're going to be doing the Ohio Maneuverability test. If you're in California, make sure that you know and practice that you're going to back up approximately 50 feet along the curb. Different states, different DMVs, you're going to parallel park between cones. Now, is it 4 tall cones? Is it 4 short cones? Is it just a cone, 2 cones out from the curb and you have to parallel park? What kind of scenario is it that you're going to have to parallel park? Because you want to practice for the test. And sometimes it will be worth your money and your time to hire a driving instructor to take you out and show you exactly what is going to be required for you to be successful on passing your driver's test. Greenbrier, they could have gone better, but it could have gone a lot worse, Rick. Yes. All right. Elevator fan. I never use my phone while driving. However, I've seen other drivers use their phone while driving. And yes, I have a phone holder for mine. It's on Bluetooth through my radio. I don't have to touch it, but I will tell you, even though my phone is on a holder, all I have to do is push the radio button to accept a phone call. I'm still distracted in my vehicle when I'm talking on my phone in the car. And I am not comfortable talking on my phone in the car. You're distracted. Simple as that. So even if I can't even imagine hands-free, you're distracted from the task of driving. So let's get over to the presentation here, talking about 8 reasons you will fail your driver's test. First reason, first impressions. Okay, you never get a second chance to make a first impression on your driver's test. And yes, driving examiners do have biases. I do suggest that you have a shower, make sure you smell good, put on deodorant. Put on a clean set of clothes, your decent clothes. You don't have to put on church clothes, but nice clothes that aren't ripped and those types of things. Clean out the car, take it down, get a wash, vacuum it out, take all of the fast food wrappers out of the footwells, and then do a pre-trip inspection on your vehicle. This is going to go a long way to you having a first good impression with the driving examiner. And make sure that you check to make sure that the door works and opens and closes from the inside and the outside on the passenger side. Make sure the seatbelt is working, because there are all kinds of reasons that you will be denied your driver's test. You want to pass your driver's test first time? Course package over at the Smart Drive Test website, guaranteed to pass your driver's test. And as a bonus, we throw in both the winter and defensive driving smart courses. You can pick that up for $30 over at the Smart Drive Test website, and I'll get that going for you there. So guaranteed to pass, $30 US, and we throw in the bonus courses. For those of you new to Smart Drive Test, my name is Rick August. I was a truck driver in the 1990s, became a licensed commercial driving instructor in 1997. Graduated from the University of Melbourne with a degree in legal history, which is a study of policing, courts, and prisons. My expertise is in policing as it relates to traffic. While I was going to university, drove buses for Greyhound and one of the regional bus lines there in Australia, and that's where the story originated. I told you about the overnight to Sydney. 2016, I started the online YouTube channel, and my online business has been wildly more successful than I could have imagined. You want to know more about me and Smart Drive Test, you can read the autobiography over at the Smart Drive Test website. Great information here. There is a podcast on 8 reasons you will fail your driver's test. You can check that out. The links are down in the description. And check out Charlie's driving lessons. Charlie did really well, practiced a lot, got lessons from driving instructors and myself included, and he was successful in passing his driver's test first time. Now, another little piece of information, length of driver tests. If you're in the city of New York and Chicago, Dallas, Texas, Los Angeles, California, those places, your test is probably going to be about 8 to 10 minutes. It's not going to be very long at all. So you don't have very long to kind of settle in. You got to be hitting the ground running on those shorter tests. Charlie, we went to Salmon Arm, and because they don't have a lot of road tests, the driving examiners they're not really booked up. His driving test was almost 45 minutes from the time that he left the test center to getting back to the test center. So know that if you think, oh, it's too hard to take my test in a big city and I'm going to go to one of these little country towns and I'm going to do my test there, know that your test is going to be a longer duration than it is in the city. And as well, just before I get started here, if you're in New York City, unfortunately, they will not give you feedback. They will not give you your results at the end of the test. What will happen is you will get done your test. The driving examiner will get out of the car, and then later that day after 6 p.m., you'll have to log on to the DMV website and check your results there. Unfortunately, too many people have abused the driving examiners, and they no longer give feedback in these larger cities. Reason number one for failing your driver's test is primary controls. You are not comfortable with the steering wheel, the brake, and the throttle. And if you're driving a manual transmission, for many people in other parts of the world, South America, Asia, Europe, you're going to be using a manual transmission. I had somebody from South Africa the other day tell me that they only have manual transmissions. Here in North America, very spoiled, very opulent. 85% of cars are automatics, and about 15% are manual transmissions. It's the inverse of that everywhere else in the world. It's 85% manual transmissions and 15% automatics. So if your braking is too hard, too aggressive, you're not going to be successful. Your turns are too wide, you wander in your lane, and you're not centered. It simply tells the driving examiner that you're not comfortable with the vehicle, you don't have control of the vehicle, and you simply haven't had enough practice, and you need to practice more. And one of the things that will correct this is the slow speed maneuvers, the parallel parking, backing along a curb parking, backing into a parking space, and those types of things. Reason number 7 is lane positioning, and this ties into the primary controls. Turning left lane to left lane on multi-lane roads, right lane to right lane on multi-lane roads, merging lane changes, moving the vehicle laterally. These are all skills and abilities that you need to demonstrate to the examiner when you're driving. You need to communicate effectively. The number one reason that many people demerit out on their driver's test is that they fail to shoulder check adequately when they're turning, when they're changing lanes, anytime that they're changing direction of the vehicle. Emergency vehicles, you must come to a stop instantly, not instantly, but right away when an emergency vehicle is approaching. For people that are going to little country towns and places that don't have a great deal of population, you might encounter an emergency vehicle maybe once a month, once every 6 weeks, not very often. For those of you taking your driving lessons in larger cities, in New York City, in Los Angeles, and Dallas, Texas, you're going to encounter emergency vehicles probably every day that you're out driving around and practicing your driving. So know that as well. Lane positioning, number 7. Number 6, being too cautious. I get a lot of people coming back and saying, oh, I'm just being cautious, and they're driving 5 miles an hour underneath the speed limit. And it's simply telling the examiner that you don't have enough driving experience, or you think that you have to drive 5 miles an hour under the posted speed limit to be successful on your driver's test and to be safe. Nothing could be farther from the truth. If you are being too cautious and you are not getting the vehicle up to speed quickly, then you are being you're being unpredictable on the roadways, and you're causing an impediment to traffic flow. So too cautious. And if you're having some issues with anxiety and fear, I do strongly encourage you to work with a driving instructor, especially driving instructors that do most of their work with seniors. They're going to be able to help you with your anxiety. Okay, observation, as I mentioned previously here, shoulder checking, shoulder checking, shoulder checking. Not shoulder checking is to driving what not checking to see if a weapon is loaded is to gun safety. You would never pick up a gun, a pistol, a rifle, a shotgun, and not check to see whether it was loaded before handling it. Why on any planet would you move a 2-ton vehicle at speed and not shoulder check and look into your blind areas before changing directions of the vehicle? Shoulder check, shoulder check, shoulder check. You have to have a forward scanning pattern in place. Far down the road, in, check your instrument panel. Far down the road, in, check your center mirror. Far down the road, and then check your wing mirrors. Your forward scanning pattern is tied into your your speed control, and if your speed is all over the place when you're driving, it tells the examiner that you simply haven't had enough experience and you're not observing correctly, and you need to practice more. Looking out the rear window when you're reversing, you must look out the rear window. You can use your mirrors, you can use a backup camera, but you primarily have to be looking out through the back window when you're reversing. Road signs, action contrary to a road signs. You need to know the difference between regulatory signs, which include your stop signs, your yield signs, railway crossings. And I know some people are going to take umbrage that I said railway. If railroad's your thing, have at it, my friend. So railway crossing signs, lane end stop signs, and then you need to know cautionary signs, lane usage signs, and school speed zone signs. Okay, if you speed in a school zone, that is another automatic fail on a driver's test. And I've kind of gotten ahead of myself here. I'll just clarify this. There's two ways you can fail a driver's test. One is an automatic fail. You commit a dangerous action, automatic fail on a driver's test. For example, not stopping for an emergency vehicle, entering an intersection you can't clear. Those are automatic fails. Touching your phone while you're driving, that's an automatic fail on a driver's test. The other way you can fail is demeriting out, just getting too many demerits. You will be assigned 5 to 10 points for minor errors, and you will be assigned 15 to 20 points for major errors during your driver's test. Most driving tests in North America are allowed 35 points before you fail. So many actions contrary to cautionary signs, for example, are going to be minor errors. If it's an action contrary to a regulatory sign, for example, you don't come to a complete stop at stop sign intersections several times during your test, you're not going to pass your driver's test. Striking a fixed object is an automatic fail on a driver's test. So for example, if you're parallel parking with cones and you strike one of the cones, automatic fail. If you're doing the Ohio Maneuverability test and you strike one of the cones, automatic fail on a driver's test. If you're parking at the test center and you back up into the concrete barrier behind at the back of the parking space, that's an automatic fail on a driver's test. Know that. If you strike the curb when you're doing your three-point turn, that could be a minor error, anywhere from 10 to 15 points, depending on how hard you hit the curb. So know this and know where your vehicle is in space and place. Okay, dangerous action, blocking an intersection. You enter the intersection, traffic's backed up, the light turns red, that's an automatic fail on a driver's test. Backing up in an intersection, please never back up in an intersection. If the examiner intervenes at any time during the test, automatic fail. Insufficient gap when turning, specifically on left-hand turns, you're not going to be successful. Or your action causes another road user to take evasive action. For example, you fail to scan the right turning lane. You go bombing through the right turning lane and a pedestrian goes to step off the curb and then they step back onto the curb. That's an evasive action by another road user, and it'll cause you to be unsuccessful on your driver's test. Reason number one for failing your driver's test: you don't know what's on the test. You don't know that you have to parallel park between cones. You don't know that you have to do the Ohio Maneuverability test. You don't know that you have to do a 2-point reverse turn in the state of Maryland. These are all the reasons that you'll be unsuccessful on the test. Where are the school zones? And if you're unsure, hire a local driving instructor, take a lesson, go out with the driving instructor, work with him or her, and they will not only give you feedback on your skills and abilities and your readiness for the test, but they'll actually take you on the test route and show you where the driving examiner is going to do the slow speed maneuvers. So they're going to give you a lot of information. They're not going to tell you that they're taking you on the test route, but they will take you on the test route during your practice test. Pass your driver's test first time course package, as I mentioned at the beginning, available over at the Smart Drive Test website. You can pick that up for $30. We throw in both the winter and defensive driving smart courses, guaranteed to ace your driver's test first time, and the course is easy to follow, step-by-step instructions to be successful on passing your driver's test. Good luck in your driver's test, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Marion, the shoulder check has helped me a couple of times already. Vehicles were in my blind spot and I didn't see them in the side mirror. And yes, excellent. Thank you for that, Marion. And Marion just passed her driver's test. She's getting used to driving, and shoulder checking is one of the most important skills that you can hone and keep as a driver. It will keep you safe and keep you out of trouble when you're driving. And it may not prevent a crash today, it may not prevent a crash tomorrow, but in 6 months, a year, 5 years, if you keep that in place and keep that and form that habit, Every time that you change directions of the vehicle, you shoulder check, it's going to pay dividends. I guarantee you. It's the same thing as applying the parking brake every time you park the vehicle. That way, when you come back to find your vehicle, it's still going to be in the same place. It's not going to be at the bottom of a ravine, in a fiery wreck. You don't know what happened to your car. Apply the parking brake every time you park your vehicle. Signal every time you change directions. Some of these skills, and too many people come back to me and say, oh, many of these skills you're not going to use after you get your license, blah, blah, blah. It's all crap and it's all garbage. Yeah, because that's the challenge of driving is that many of the skills and abilities we don't use all of the time. Winter driving, for example, driving in the rain at night, driving at night. It only happens every now and again. It's the same thing with shoulder checking. Yes, 90% of the time you could get away with not shoulder checking, but that one time, it only takes one crash to change your life. Okay, so develop those habits. Keep yourself safe when you're driving. Elevator fan. There are a lot of interstates in Chicago. If you are doing your driver's test there, they might bring you out on the interstate. And yes, if you are close to a highway, thank you for that elevator fan. If you're close to a highway, you're close to an interstate where they can get you out onto the interstate, they're going to see whether you are comfortable merging. So that is one of the things that you're going to need to practice to be prepared for your driving test. Because keep in mind, again, we go back to what is your job when you're taking your driving test. Your job is to demonstrate to the driving examiner that you have due care and control of the vehicle in changing traffic conditions. Changing traffic conditions include highways, interstates, parkways, any place that you can get out and have to merge onto the interstate, parkway, or highway, whatever it might be. For those in the state of New York, you're going to have parkways, and some of those on-ramps are not going to have an acceleration lane. It's simply just going to be an on-ramp, and you're going to have to stop, and you're going to have to find a gap in which to merge into to get out onto the parkway. So you're going to have to know how to do that as well. Noah, last night I was forced to drive at night in very heavy, unrelenting rain, and it was terrifying. I nearly missed a red light and also my turn. And yes, as Noah just said, it's one of those skills we don't have very often. We don't encounter driving at night in pouring rain very often. So it's one of those skills that comes over a lot of time and a lot of experience where, maybe once, maybe twice a year, we're going to encounter those kinds of situations. And hydroplaning. I never experienced hydroplaning in my life until I moved to Vancouver Island, until I moved to geographical conditions of Seattle, Washington. You get into these places, you get into Vancouver, British Columbia, they have torrential rains. I mean, just incredible volumes of rain that, even with quality tires on your vehicle, you will hydroplane. And so driving at night is just another added challenge to driving in that kind of weather conditions and whatnot. So know that. Miss Fitness says that people weren't signaling today. It's very annoying. Miss Fitness, it's not going to be just today. It's going to be every day that people are not signaling. Watch the movement of the vehicle. Oftentimes you can tell by the lane positioning of drivers and their vehicle whether they're going to change lanes or not. You can figure that out pretty quickly. So if they're on a multi-lane road, they're in the right lane and they're hugging the left side, or all of a sudden they start moving towards the center line, there's a high probability that they're going to move left. So lane positioning is the number one way that drivers communicate with other traffic and other road users that they're going to change directions of their vehicle. Game Master School Bus, okay. Mallory says, I think that not having your cell phone while on driving test is a great idea so you can stay focused on your driving test. Yes. Marion says she doesn't think she could drive a manual transmission. Yes. It's one of those skills that you can learn after you get a bit of driving experience with an automatic. I generally recommend that you take a few lessons and then you can get going pretty quickly. It's not as hard as people put out, especially now in this day and age with technology, because new manual transmission cars, electronic fuel injected engines, as soon as you let the clutch out and hit the friction point, it starts to rev up automatically, so you don't have to apply very much fuel to get it going. And the other piece about it is that these vehicles have lane assist, which is awesome. Or not lane assist, rather, but hill assist. So as soon as you're on a hill, the brakes will apply, and as soon as you let the clutch out and start going, it will just take off on a hill. So you don't have to do that old holding the brake and letting the clutch out to the friction point, holding it with the clutch, and then getting on the throttle and get going, or doing the handbrake, which, you know, is a lot of people do. They just automatically do it. As soon as the vehicle senses incline, it applies the automatic and gives you the hill assist and gets you going on the hill. So modern manual transmissions are like super easy to drive compared to the old buggy that I have, my 1998 Honda CR-V. It doesn't have any of that technology on it, and you gotta, you know, be pretty good at being able to drive it. Elevator fan, I had a vehicle cut me off when they were backing out today, and I had to take evasive action in order to avoid being involved in a crash. I hit the brakes just in time. Awesome. We're glad you're okay. And yes, people are going to do that. They're going to back out in front of you and do all kinds of other goofy things. Klaus, I was taken out on the Autobahn in an A8 here in Bavaria. Oh, that sounds like a wonderful out on a trip on the Autobahn. I can't wait to get to Germany and get out on the Autobahn. That's going to be a lot of fun. Young, I was about to buy a 2021 Honda Accord Sport with 9,000 miles and the door price last week in the morning. I was about to go to the dealership. Someone bought it. I was so mad. There'll be lots more, my friend. Lots more. But no, that sounds like a good deal. So yeah. But keep looking. You'll be able to find another one for sure. Probably a better one too. That's usually what happens. All right. Sheldon, I was taking the driving classes in June in New York City. Fred says, I don't know how people use their phones while driving. No, it's like I said, Fred. Even though I have hands-free in the buggy, I still feel distracted when I'm driving and talking on the phone. And I try to just reduce that distraction as much as I can. I don't use my phone. Even with hands-free, I'm not comfortable doing it. So, yes. Greenbrier, car prices right now are insane. Greenbrier, unfortunately, with inflation, I don't think the price of anything's coming down. Fuel prices, car prices, insurance, I think everything is just stupid, crazy expensive right now. I'm not sure where this is all going to end. Mallory, out here in the Maritimes today, we had a winter storm. Some places got snow, other places got rain. And yes, I posted some winter driving tips during the week. Snow is not done with us yet. And actually last week on a poll, I asked if people were getting ready to take their winter tires off their car, because I'm kind of thinking of it because we've had some nice weather and we're probably not going to get any more snow. And even if we do get snow with the buggy, all of my all seasons will do just fine to get me through it. But next week we're going down to Vancouver Island, so we're driving through the mountains with lots of snow up on the mountain passes and whatnot. We're going through the Coquihalla, and there's going to be a lot of snow up there still. So I'm not thinking that I'm going to take the winter tires off just yet. I'll leave them on because you can get some crazy weather up on top of the mountain passes. It can be super nice down in the valley, and then you get up on top of the mountains and it can be pretty crazy up there. So yes, I think I'm going to leave them on. All right, passing a driver's test. There's 4 components to any driver's test, any class of license, regardless of whether it's a class 4, whether it's an ambulance, a taxi, a school bus, a coach, highway coach, or it's a tractor trailer. Same 4 components. Space management, speed management, observation, and communication. Those are your 4 components of any driver's test. Space management. You have to stop in traffic so you can see the tires of the vehicle in front making clear contact with the pavement, which is approximately 1 vehicle length between vehicles when you're stopped. Stopping positions at controlled intersections, behind the stop line, the sidewalk or crosswalk. If those 2 conditions don't exist, then at the edge of the intersection. Those are the correct stopping positions. Space management, you need to maintain a 2 to 3 second following distance for the duration of your test. And in other places, it's going to be a little bit different depending on which state you're in. In the state of California, they say it's 2 seconds under 30 miles an hour, and then it's 4 seconds above 30 miles an hour. So know that the faster you go, the more space you want in front of your vehicle. That's essentially what they're saying for space management. As well, don't enter an intersection you can't clear for the purposes of your driver's test. And if you're not near anything, it's less likely that you're going to hit anything for the purposes of your driver's test. Speed management is space trumps speed, so you always want to be adjusting your speed to control space in front of your vehicle. If you can get space on the other two sides of your vehicle, even better, but you can always control that space in front of your vehicle. Some people say that if you have too much space in front of your vehicle, other cars are going to cut in and those types of things. Yes, in other parts of the world where congestion is crazy and the driving culture is very different, but here in North America, it's rare that people will cut in front of you. Most of the time, you're going to be able to maintain that space. And if somebody does get into that space, you simply just adjust your speed, let them go and have their crash somewhere else, and protect that space at all costs when you're driving. Speed management, get the vehicle up to speed as quickly as possible. As I said in the presentation, being too namby-pamby, being too cautious on your driver's test is going to cause you to fail your driver's test, because it says to the examiner that you simply don't have enough experience driving and you're not being efficient in your driving. So you need to get some more experience. You need to work with a professional driving instructor and whatnot. Speed for the purposes of your driving test is the posted speed limit or the flow of traffic, whichever is less. So for example, if the speed limit is 30 miles an hour, but everybody's driving 25, then you're going to be driving 25 on your driver's test. Observation. Your observation is tied to your speed control, because if you're not adjusting your speed every 15 to 20 seconds when you're driving, that tells the driving examiner that you're not observing correctly when you're driving. So observation, forward scanning pattern, far down the road, check your instrument panel, far down the road, and check your mirrors one at a time and down the road. Alternate back and forth. Turning, shoulder checking every time you change directions of the vehicle. Reversing, looking out through the back window. You can use your mirrors, you can use your backup camera, but you have to be looking out through the back window for the duration of your test when you're observing. Communication, there are 5 ways that we communicate with other traffic when we're driving. Position of the vehicle, position of the road user is the most important way that we communicate with other traffic and other road users. If a pedestrian, for example, is standing near the crosswalk, there's a good chance that he or she is going to cross the road. If there's a vehicle in the left-hand lane, there's a good possibility, or left turn lane, there's a high probability that driver is going to turn left. If you're following a driver and they start hugging the left side of their lane, there's a good chance they're either going to turn or they're going to change lanes. So position of the vehicle. Lights and signals, eye contact, hand gestures, and lastly, horn. Yes, you can use your horn to communicate, but in North America, it is seen as a sign of aggression, so use it sparingly. All right, you don't want to end up in a road rage incident. So those are the 4 components of any driver's test: space management, speed management, observation, and communication. Have those pieces, in place when you're preparing for your driver's test. Alan, I passed my driver's test last Friday because I watched your videos. Awesome. Congratulations, my friend. That is awesome news. What did you do to celebrate and passing your driver's test? JS, any advice when turning left if the frame of the car between the door and the windshield is in the way when doing left-hand turns? Okay, JS, yes. You got to move forward. You either move back or you move forward to look around. It's actually called the A-pillar. The pillars that hold up the roof of the car. The one at the front is the A-pillar, B-pillar, C-pillar, D-pillar, okay, and so on and so forth. The one at the front is called the A-pillar, and sometimes when you're turning left and even when you're turning right, you might have to shift your position in the seat. You're going to have to move forward, you're going to have to move back, move your body. And this is an excellent point in terms of observing when you're driving, okay? You cannot look with just your eyes. You got to move your head when you're driving, okay? You got to move your head, you got to shoulder check, you got to look. As you said, with the A-pillar, it creates a blind area and that blind area is going to change depending on the position of your vehicle, where you're sitting in the seat, and where your vehicle is along the roadway. So a lot of times you're going to have to be moving around to be able to see around that A-pillar when you're driving and see into the blind areas. Epic. Why not try getting a driving lesson on divided hay freeways? Because in some parts of the world you're required to drive to get a driver's license. If you pass, should I use a small SUV on the test? Yes, a small SUV, Toyota Corolla, Honda Civic, those Hyundai Elantra, those are all good vehicles to take your driver's test in. Honda CRV, the CRV is actually a little bit too big now. Is it the what's the other one that they just come out with? I can't remember what it is, but it's the smaller SUV. You don't want to take a big SUV. You certainly don't want to take a Suburban or a Dodge 1500. I mean, you know, if you live in Texas and you don't have access to any other vehicles, then yes, take your 1500. But, you know, try and get a smaller vehicle. Hello, everyone. Jazz, how are you, my friend? Noah. Okay, excellent. Jim, I'm going for my end tomorrow in the Lower Mainland. I'm extremely nervous. Jim, you're going to do awesome. Remember to breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth, and you're going to be successful on passing your test. You're going to be doing great. We're thinking about you. We're sending you positive energy. Klaus, no, it wasn't that funny because it has 130 kilometer an hour there. The weather was cloudy but not rainy. Okay. I had a couple of people cutting in my safe space coming home along Lougheed Highway this afternoon. I don't like that. Yes. When that happens, Marion, just back off. Just, you know, let them take the space. Let them go and have their crash somewhere else. Awesome. Noah, I bought my 2020 Soul. My first car ever. I wish I could show you all. She looks small but very roomy inside. Big trunk as well. So far, so good. Awesome. All the best on the new car. That sounds very exciting. Kevin, when we were having our seminar as transit drivers, the instructor said we are professional drivers, so we need to compensate for other people's mistakes. I said taxi drivers are professionals too. Yes, but you know, taxi drivers they're a different level of professional. You know, they really only have to take a driver's test with a pre-trip inspection. They're not really transit drivers and driving a, you know, 20-ton vehicle. They're just driving a car for sure. Greenbrier, inflation better turn into deflation, or I'll probably have to feed a bear some hand-picked blueberries in a bowl so it can survive. Yes. Yeah, inflation, and we're not sure where it's going to end. It's interesting for sure. And they're not bailing out the banks either, so, you know, not helping people at all. Good luck. Awesome. Yes, and exactly what Mallory just said. If you're going around a curve or you're moving through a parking lot, wherever you're maneuvering and navigating with your vehicle, where you look is where the vehicle goes. So make sure that you look where you want the vehicle to go when you're driving. Elevator fan, is following too close to the vehicle in front of you an automatic fail on a driver's test? Elevator, anything that you do consistently wrong on a driver's test is going to cause you to fail. Now, following too close or stopping too close to the traffic in front of you is probably not going to be an automatic fail right away. But if you continue to do it, eventually you're probably going to get about a quarter of the way through your driver's test, and then you're going to fail. The driving examiner's just going to say, listen, you don't know how to drive, or you're not prepared for the driving test, and they're going to take you back to the test center, and they're just going to say, sorry, you failed. Jim, I stalled my vehicle in a busy intersection. I got raged at by a large truck the other day. Jim, just take a breath, get it going, and get out of the intersection. I had that happen yesterday. I don't know what's going on with the buggy right now, but intermittently, like once every 10 days, it just shuts off, which is weird. And it did it to me on an intersection yesterday, and I didn't realize that the engine had actually shut off. And I kind of rolled through the intersection. I went to step on the throttle, and it's like, oh, there's no throttle there. Fortunately, the person that was turning kind of slowed down. And I was like, oh, okay, the car's not running. And then it just got going again. So you got to kind of take a breath. If you can't get it going right away, then throw your four-way flashes on to communicate to other traffic that something's wrong, right? And on the note of four-way flashers, your hazard lights. Only use them in the event of an emergency. Don't turn them on in bad weather when you're driving along the highway. There is nothing more frustrating trying to drive in a snowstorm or drive in really super heavy rain, and some driver has their hazard lights on and like following along for hours at a time with the flashers. Oh, we know it's bad weather. Don't turn your hazards on in bad weather. Leave them off. They're for emergencies. If it's pouring rain and you can't see because it's just a torrential downpour and you're stopped under an underpass somewhere, then yes, have your hazards on. But otherwise, don't turn them on unless it is an emergency. Clint, UK driving tests are a lot more difficult than the US ones. And Clint, that is absolutely true. 100%. There's no doubt about it that UK driving tests are more difficult. You're driving on narrow roads. You're driving in roads that should not have cars on them. You're driving smaller cars, and you're driving manual transmissions. And you've got roundabouts at every junction. So yes, UK and European driving tests are harder than they are in North America. Absolutely. I don't disagree. Greenbrier could be a bad fuel pump, Rick. Can also be one of the other 100,000 different issues. Greenbrier, the issue I had previously was a relay valve in the vehicle that was causing it to shut down, and it's doing exactly the same thing again. What was happening is the relay valve got old, it would heat up, and then it would just shut the engine off. And it's doing the same thing again, but it might be the fuel pump, because when I turn the car to the on position, the ignition, I can hear the fuel pump, and I don't think that you usually should be able to hear the fuel pump turning over. So, like you said, it could be the fuel pump, it could be lots of other things. Klaus, I took my driving test in December back there. Awesome. Kevin, taxi and Uber drivers are not at professional level. They are not even at a normal level of driving. Yes. And somebody's going to leave a comment here on the live stream that Uber drivers, taxi drivers, UPS have a high rate of crashes on left-hand turns. And yes, they do. And for you as new drivers, if you get a new license and you have a crash, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a left-hand turn because you misjudged the gap, or you went on a yellow light and you didn't double, triple check to ensure that the oncoming traffic was in fact coming to a stop. So be extra cautious after you get your license when making left-hand turns to keep yourself safe. Kevin, they are super unpredictable. Yes, they are. Elevator, can you flash your headlights during a driver's test? Elevator fan, no, don't flash your lights during a driving test. And don't wave other drivers on and other road users on during a driver's test. Don't do that either. Marion, you haven't seen anything with taxis, etc. here? Yeah. No, I was a taxi driver once. No, I was not professional in any stretch of the imagination. JS, one more question if you can. Is using the back window to reverse park a pass-fail issue in Ontario? I find it harder. Maybe it is because I am shorter. Is there a checklist for Ontario I could check? JS, you can look out through the back window. Put your hand on the passenger seat and look around and look out through the back window. You can use your backup camera. You can use your mirrors, but you have to look out through the back window. And if you can't see anything, because there are some vehicles you can't see out through the back window very well, just fake it till you make it, okay? And Corey will put up the video for you on reversing correctly for the purposes of your driver's test. Marion, back in South Africa, they have crazy driving there. Yes, they do. Klaus, how many kilometers has your Honda CR-V? Klaus, it's just shy of 380,000 kilometers on the old buggy. So it's getting up there. It's still going strong. It's probably going to need a clutch soon, though. It's starting to get a little clunky. Young, I've seen people drive UPS trucks like they're on a monster truck demolition derby. Yes, but UPS will tell you that they have one of the most stringent defensive driving courses anywhere in the world. But yeah, questionable what individual drivers actually do when they're out on the roadway. Greenbrier, thank you for that about the noisy fuel pump. Yeah, it might be ready to change it. I think it was about 5 years that we changed it out, and it was an off-brand one, so it might be one thing that I might want to look into. Noah, how do I do things like refill wiper fluid or oil? Can you do a video that shows these things for beginners? Yes, absolutely, Noah. Super easy, and on some of these newer cars, they won't even have an oil dipstick. They'll actually, you have to go into the telematics community, and there's a service intervals on that, and I can show you how to do that. I can borrow my Tracy's Audi, and I can show you how to check the oil on that and do those. Yeah, that's actually a good suggestion. Thanks for that. I'll get that done for you on some of the things underneath the hood. That just real quick to check and how to do that. Klaus, I have a great car. Yeah, Klaus, I've looked after it. I've put some money into it, and I've got some body work done on it, and I've done a bunch of new exhaust, new suspension, new struts on the front. There's been a lot of work done to the old buggy to keep it going for sure. Greenbrier, the way people drive, I'd rather drive a tank than a car, and some people do drive tanks. They drive Humvees and Suburbans and Cadillac DeVilles. Not a DeVille. What's the SUV, the Cadillac SUV that I can't think of right now off the top of my head? Any tips for Ohio? Should I get a new engine or a new car? New engine or a new car. That depends on you, whether you like the car that you have or you want to buy a new car. Now, a new engine. There's so many factors in terms of talking to you about a new engine. Me personally, let's say, for example, that the engine went on the Honda. If it went on the Honda, I would take the old engine to an engine rebuilder, and I would have them pull it out, send it to a machine shop, put new pistons in it, and put it back in. I would not get a crate engine. I've heard horror stories about crate engines that they, do whatever. But my suggestion, if you really, really like the car, have them pull the engine out of it, have them rebuild the engine, and then put the engine back in, because that's actually better than a crate engine. Now, if you're going to go to an auto wrecker and you're just going to get another used motor to put in it, that could bring up another whole host of problems. So, you just spent $4,000 or $5,000 for a re to pull the engine out and put the engine back in, and you're not really guaranteed that you're going to get a new vehicle. So, for an engine rebuild on a 4-cylinder engine is going to run you about $5,000 to send it into a shop and get it machined to put new pistons in it, new main bearings, and those types of things. If you really love your vehicle, that's what I would suggest you do. If you don't really love your vehicle, then I would suggest that you go and find another vehicle. It might be easier and it might be cheaper. So that's my 2 cents on it. I can't really say definitively there's too many issues with putting a new motor into an older car. Elevator fan, another reason why people fail their driver's test is because of yellow lights, and yes, they do, and Corey will put up the video for you on unexpected events on a driver's test, and yellow lights are one of those reasons. What is a crate engine? Excellent question, Corey. Thank you for asking me that, because a lot of people won't know what a crate engine is. It's an engine that you buy for your car that comes in a crate. It's basically in a wooden crate, and they call it a crate engine. And you can buy them. I could buy one for the Honda. You can buy one for just about any vehicle. The issue is you don't really know what you're getting when you buy a crate engine. You don't know whether you're getting a new engine or not. And my brother does a lot of this kind of rebuilds. He rebuilds hot rods and those types of things. And he is not an advocate of crate engines. He's had a lot of issues with crate engines. So his suggestion is, if you want to replace the motor in your car, pull it out, send it to a machine shop that rebuilds motors, have the engine rebuilt, then you know exactly what you're getting. And as well, the machine shop is going to give you a guarantee on that vehicle, on that engine. I'm not sure what it is, whether it's a year or whatnot. They're going to give you a guarantee on that. You know exactly what you've got. You've got a almost as close to brand new engine as you can get. Put it back in and away you go, and you know exactly what you got. Whereas where you buy a crate engine, you're not really sure what you're getting, right? Because it doesn't take much to mess up a motor. For example, if the crate engine is one of the issues that my brother was having, is that they would leave shavings, metal shavings inside the cylinder piston, or the piston cylinder rather, and it would cause the engine to go kablooey. So you put a brand new crate engine, you get 6 months out of it, and then you got to put another engine in your vehicle again. All right. Klaus, yes, but a brand new car will be much more expensive than fixing up your 1988 Honda CR-V, and you're absolutely true, Klaus. That is an excellent point, Klaus. For probably $6,000, I could go and have a brand new engine put in the Honda, and I've already put a lot of work into it, so I already know where it's at. Yes, I would probably pull the engine out, get them to rebuild it, and then put it back in. It's going to cost me about $6,000. Like you said, if I go get a brand new vehicle, it's going to be a lot more expensive than that. It's going to be $15,000 to $20,000, maybe even $30,000 to replace the car. Fred says, imagine trying to parallel park a Hummer. Yes, that's a bit challenging. Fred, I have actually parallel parked semi-trucks that are 75 feet long, 23 meters. So, yeah, it's a bit challenging, but it can be done for sure. Mallory, how long have I had my vehicle? I have had it since 2014. So I've had it 10 years. Yes. 2023. Yes, I've had it 10 years now. That's crazy to think that I've had the buggy for 10 years. Absolutely crazy. Daniel, Rick, with an AZ license in Ontario to get bus license, do you need to take a road test? Yes, you do, Daniel. As far as I know, I would need to check that. Definitely for a school bus. I know that Ontario used to give you your C with your AZ, but I don't think that they do anymore. So you would have to go get your learners, and then you would have to go and do a driver's test, as far as I know. Now, with a bus company currently, because they're so strapped for drivers, if you find a bus company that's willing to hire you, they might actually train you and provide equipment, because if you have to go to a driving school, it could be fairly expensive. So know that, and just consider that if you're going to go for get your C. Marion, the puppy is actually doing much, much better. The puppy was out of the crate the whole time I was doing the live stream, and he's actually in with my daughter right now. So yeah, he's doing well. How hard is the Ohio maneuverability portion of the test? If you practice, say, half a day in a parking lot doing the Ohio maneuverability test, you're going to be just fine. And the other key to the Ohio maneuverability test, stay tight to the driver's side. All right? You go through the cones. The driving examiner will tell you to go left or right of the nose cone. Stop. So the back of the vehicle is in line with the nose cone, and then you back through the same way you came in. You can't stop. Stay tight to the driver's side, and then stop so the front of the vehicle as it is at the end of the entrance. So it's in line with the two first cones for the purposes of doing the Ohio maneuverability test. KJ, you are absolutely correct about that in Ontario. Awesome. Okay, so that's good information. Thank you for that. Yes, the puppy was making noise last week, for sure. And some people thought it was a parakeet when he was in his cage making noise there. Okay. Oh, excellent. Okay, Klaus, we had an old Audi A6, 21 years in the family. That's a long time to have a car. But, you know, some people buy a car and then they just keep it and then they still have it 20 or 30 years later. I was last summer when I was home at my brother's. They had a car in the family, and I think it was into the third generation that their grandfather had bought it. It was a 1957 Mercury. And my brother had it in the garage, and I don't know, he was fixing the fuel pump or something on it, but it was mint. It was enormous car. It was huge, old Mercury, and baby blue, and you know, had a V8 engine in it. My brother's, I said, you know, and it had that marshmallow suspension that was very famous in the 1960s and 1970s. And my brother said, even with a V8 engine, the thing would probably only do 85 miles an hour, which is, you know, about 130 kilometers an hour was its top speed. So, yeah. Fred, do they still call a school bus a cheese bus? I don't know. Maybe they do in other parts of the world, but I can't say I've ever heard or had a school bus being referred to as cheese. Greenbrier, you were thinking of the Cadillac Escalade. Yes, I was. Your Escalade. That's the song. I'm thinking of that cowboy song, Your Escalade. Okay. Excellent. All right, we're going to leave it there for tonight. Pass your driver's test first time course package, guaranteed to pass. Simple course, easy to follow. Over at the Smart Drive Test website, we throw in both the winter and defensive driving courses as a bonus. You pick that up for about $38. You passed your driver's test in the last couple of weeks. Congratulations on that. Awesome that you passed, and we were able to help you out with that. And if you have a driver's test coming up in the next week or so, good luck on that. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have an awesome night. Bye now.